MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Superbike Championship, round 3 of 10 from Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia. Hello everyone and welcome to the Kawasaki pre-race show. I'm Greg White, standing alongside me, Jason Pridmore, who's won 2 championships at this level and 2 at the world level. And we're getting ready for the Supersport event. Now Jason, I think it's safe to say that the surprise of the season so far has been a Suzuki-mounted French rider by the name of Valentin Debise.
There's no question on that, Greg. When we went to the COTA test earlier in the year, I showed up the second day. He was the first one I saw on the racetrack, and you could just see something was just a little bit different. That team has worked incredibly hard on that bike, and he's more motivated than I've ever seen him. And at every track we've gone to so far, he's been at the top of the timesheets at least some point during the weekend.
A lot of people feel it's been a Yamaha affair for many years, but Valentin Debise is really getting in there and mixing it up with his Suzuki.
Jason and at Road Atlanta. No more evident than where we're at Road Atlanta, and I'm going to tell you something, man. Valentine, he put on a spectacular show.
He really did. He fought those guys off, and he just seems to, his racecraft is so sharp right now. We can see here at Road Atlanta, Greg, exactly what you're talking about. He just wasn't going to be denied. He was doing some things that were a little bit different than some of the other guys, and you know, we go through turn 6 here, he's going underneath JD Beach. He's just not going to let these guys get away. It's kind of like what we see with Elias and Superbike. In this turn specific, turn 7, he was doing something different than anybody else, but this was the, you know, getting down to it. Him and Garrett were coming down to the wire here on the last couple laps. And, you know, Garrett pipped him the first day, and Valentine learned something there the second day, and he was so strong on the brakes going down into here throughout the weekend that the only way Garrett was going to beat him was to make that pass earlier down that back straightaway, and he was able to do so here in race 1. This was them coming under the bridge, last corner, last lap on the of race 1, and you can see Debise, when he crossed the line, he was frustrated, he was a little mad at himself, and just came back with a plan better the second day of what he thought he could do. And the second day, same kind of start, same 3 guys. JD just couldn't quite get on the back of them as much as he was the first day, even, until he made a mistake.
JD Beach, of course, the number 95 machine in this particular race. He leads the way. Number 1 is Garrett Gerloff. Number 53, Valentin Debise. That was a huge crash early on in this race.
Xavier Zayat went up the hill there in turn 1 and flung himself really, really bad. It was good to see him back here, but this is another area where he was really strong going up the hill. You saw Garrett get a little bit loose. Valentine took advantage of that, and going into this last lap, I thought, you know, here we go. Garrett goes underneath him and kind of moved over, but then he pulled back to the right. Valentine did not need another invitation. Maybe that back marker caught Garrett's eye, but when they went up underneath that bridge for the last time, Valentine, that's where he shined all weekend, coming down that hill into the last corner, and he put that Suzuki up front, and that, like I said, all year, that team's doing a great job for him. And we look at the current weather, we've had really interesting conditions here. Yesterday it was just rainy and misty and cold all day long. These guys didn't get any track time in the dry at all whatsoever until this morning.
So let's look at our Suzuki weather here, the nicest conditions we've had since we got here. 61 degrees outside, track temperature really pretty perfect for racing. I mean, I know Dunlop would like to see it a little bit warmer, but a good look at the breeze, that 8-mile-an-hour breeze we have going on here at Virginia International Raceway. Definitely a fan favorite, this race course, Jason. And a lot of people don't know it, but it was built in 1957. Talk us around this.
Yeah, when you look at the top of our screen here, you see a little gray line, start-finish line down into turn 1. That's going to be our primary passing spot. A lot of big draft passing going down. Turn 2 and 3 are kind of tricky. Decreasing radius corner that doesn't lead onto a very big straightaway into turn 4. They're going to go back to second there. A lot of these 600s are going to be short shifting, or some of them will be going through turn 4, 5, either in third. Some of them will be in second, then up through the gear, down through turn 6 into turn 7. They'll go up to 4th gear, back to second for turn 7. From turn 7 all the way across to turn 10, it's like you're on top of a ridge. It's very fast, flowy, really fun section of the racetrack. At turn 10, hard braking. Down the hill, they're going to upshift to 3rd, coming down between turn 10 and 11. They're going to charge down that hill. It's a lot steeper, and this is exactly what you're looking at on your screen. The bikes will be coming towards us into turn 12 and 13, and it's so important. At the bottom of our screen here, you can see the last corner. So important to get a great drive out of there, either if you're leading or if you're trying to draft. coming onto that front straightaway. But VIR is a fun track for the riders. I don't think that there's a rider in the paddock that doesn't enjoy coming here just because it's such a fun place. You can see here, these are the S's that we're talking about, on our screen now. That's coming out of turn 5 through turn 6 all the way down to turn 7 to that Nissan bridge. I tell some of the guys, aim for that second S in Nissan because that's going to be a spot where you're going to be able to start getting your braking and things done while you're upright. We get a good look at our pole sitter here, Valentin DeBees. Again, this guy is so hungry this year, and right now he's fighting the battle against these Yamahas on his own, but his teammate Brandon Posh just continues to impress me with the maturity that he has shown in the wet yesterday. You see Brandon going out there on the number 21. You see Mazziato going out. All these guys going out for their sighting laps. There's Ashton Yates. Of course, Garrett Gerloff, Jason Aguilar, all rolling out for their sighting laps right now. But Brandon is really getting close. And yesterday, Greg, there was a 20 minutes, second session yesterday, the first 20 minutes. Brandon literally tailed on the back of Valentin the whole time. Valentin couldn't get away from him. And just the maturity this young man is showing is amazing.
Look at number 55, Michael Gilbert, who qualified well. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is the Supersport class, but it's also mixed in with Superstock 600. The distinction is pretty simple. When you look at those motorcycles, they're, of course, a similar base. They have the GSXR 600 that races in both categories, the Yamaha R6, the Kawasaki ZX6R, the Triumph Daytona 675, and so on, is that when you look at these particular motorcycles, including the Honda CBR 600R, notice the red backing on the number plate and the yellow number 55 on Michael Gilbert's bike. That indicates that he is competing in the Superstock 600 class, as is the 59. And the white backing with blue numbers indicates that they're in the Supersport class. But there's two ways that we distinguish how the classes are scored in points. Everyone gets points in the Supersport class, but only Superstock 600 riders get points in their class. So leading the way in that championship right now is Nick Mcfadden, who's sitting on 2 race wins. And Nick Mcfadden, of course, he rides for the M4 Med-Age Suzuki team. He is on fire right now in the Superstock 600. Didn't qualify the way he wanted to, but when you're looking at this particular race, we're going to have races inside of the race.
Yep.
Not only in Supersport, but Superstock 600 as well.
And some of our 600 Superstock competitors are knowing that the times that they did last year on Superstock, they got down to the 28s. The fast, I think it was Bryce Prince last year, our current 600 Superstock champion, that's moved up, and also Michael Gilbert. I think they both did 28s. So they were a little bit off their times this morning, but the dry track time that these guys have has been virtually nothing. So when you look at what Valentin did and Garrett Gerloff, JD Beach, they're in the 28s, 29s, but they're going to be capable of going a little bit faster. And our Superstock category is going to be just full of, I think it's going to be a big battle. There's a number of guys that can do well, and like you said, Nick has done an amazing job so far this year, both at COTA, where he went and raced with the Supersport guys. There was no Superstock class there. And then he just dominated in Atlanta. He was so good in Atlanta. I talked to him this morning before I came up here in the booth, and he was just laughing. He says, "Gee, I didn't quite get everything I needed to get." And I said, "Hey, you're third right now in your class." But it did bump him back 1 row. He's going to be 3rd row. You can kind of see him sitting there, 3/4 part of our screen on the right there.
Well, this is the brightest that we've seen it so far this weekend. And the 3rd member of our team, Terry Lee, is down with our pole sitter. Terry?
Thanks, Greg. Valentine, sitting pole going into this one. Obviously, you were stronger you're stronger this year than you were last year. What's been the change for you?
I think the most changes is I prepare a little bit better, and also I know all the track now. So when I came into the track, I don't have to think about learning all the corner. I just have to think about goes full gas, so it's a little bit more easier for me.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Part of what Valentine is talking about preparation, of course, was a bit of a shoulder injury last year, and he had the offseason to really work that shoulder as he continues to rehab his shoulder. So he comes into this season stronger, as well as familiar with the racetracks, but also, Jason, he's also familiar with the team and the team structure.
Yeah, there's no question. It takes time. I mean, especially when you're coming from another country. You're coming from another country to a team that you don't know, people that you don't know, tracks you don't know. There's a lot of things. Now he's starting to get a lot more comfortable here. He just looks fitter to me. He was completely fit last year, too. There's just something about him that looks even more fit to me this year, and just more ready. I think he feels like he should be winning all these races, and you can see that in his personality.
All right, continuing to work the front row of the grid, Terry Lee.
Garrett, you were a double winner here last year. not only do you have JD Beach as your teammate to watch out for this time around, but you've got a Suzuki in front of you. How does that feel? Does that put on the pressure?
No, I mean, it's always good to have competition. That just makes us all better. So I'm looking forward to racing against these guys, and it's been a weird weekend so far with the weather we've had. So I think setups are all kind of questionable right now for all of us, but it should be a fun race, and just ready to go have some fun and battle it up.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Of course, Garrett Gerloff and his team on the brand new Yamaha R6. So they're still working through some setup things as well as some electronics. So not having that dry track time, I think they're a little bit more nervous as opposed to last year when they were more settled.
I think that there might be a little bit of question marks, like he said, because you're exactly right, Greg. That bike is brand new, and they've got to look. That team is so experienced. Those guys know what they're doing. They know that the setups that they got are going to be relatively close. But we're going to be able to tell in this first race. What I think that you'll probably see a lot of people doing is making some sort of compromise in this particular race, and then tomorrow morning, Sunday morning warm up. If they need to try anything different, they're going to try stuff in warm up tomorrow before the second race. The thing is that the reality, when you look at Garrett and you look at JD, really the worst that they should finish is second or third. You might get a Benny Solis, who was close in this race last year, mixing it up with them on the Honda, but he is also in a position where the dry track time has been so limited to them that they're going to go with a setup that they feel is going to be best for now.
And speaking of limited track time and dry time for these riders, the 43 of Caroline Olsen actually was bumped to the LCQ, the last chance qualifier, and she won that LCQ to put herself 20th on the grid, and she's with Terry now.
Yes, winning the LCQ earlier after losing the clutch earlier in the day. How do you feel going into this one now that your bike is complete again?
You know, it was my first ever LCQ, but it was kind of like a good thing. I got some dry laps under my belt, and we got to make sure that the bike was functioning properly, and I'm actually really looking forward to the race. I've been a little bit under the weather, so just gotta man up and get the job done.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Norwegian Caroline Olsen with her first win at this level, so she'll put herself in 20th spot. A lot of work to do.
She probably won't count that as a win, Greg. You know, honestly, to be honest. And, her clutch did go out this morning, and the team did a good job of getting that back together for her.
All right, you know what? JD Beach qualified third, and it was interesting when we came to Virginia International Raceway last season how this racetrack turned on JD Beach.
Yeah, last year we had the storm that just came through like crazy. I mean, it messed up our tents and everything. I told Mike, I'm like, hey, we're either going to be heroes or zeros, and we're going to stay with the rain tires and go for it, because it looked like there's more storm coming. And on the first two laps, we were definitely heroes. But the first lap, I had a 10-second lead. Second lap, I had a 15-second lead. Then after that, every lap kept getting smaller and smaller. Then one guy kept coming by, then the next guy, and then before I knew it, I was getting lapped. And by the end of the race, I ended up 14th, so I lost a lot of points there. Luckily for me, I've been reminded about my mistake a lot. So surely I won't make the same mistake.
Yeah, reminded by us, huh, Jason?
Yeah, you know, I felt bad for him, and as soon as I left the booth last year, I always said, JD, we got to go with what the championship leader's going with. Whatever it is, you got to put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I was the first of many, but poor guy. I love JD.
And even though he went on a 7-race win streak at the end of the season, he was not able to reel in his teammate Garrett Gerloff to hold on to that #1 plate. So JD Beach with a different mindset this year, no question about it. As we're getting ready to get the Supersport race underway, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay with us right here on BN Sports. The Express Kawasaki pre-race show is powered by Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, the only motorcycle tires designed, tested, and made in America for how you ride. Am I Kawasaki? Kawasaki, let the good times roll. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. VIRnow.com for some information, MotoAmerica.com if you want to follow along with live timing and scoring. As we take a look at our grid, Valentine DeBees on the front row on pole position, Garrett Gerloff, JD Beach. Then we have Benny Solis, Michael Gilbert, and Anthony Mazziato back in action. Actually,
Great run for him.
great run for him coming off the KTM Cup race. And then
Nick McFadden, Connor Blevins, Brandon Posh there on the outside of row 3 next to Jody Berry. Great job by him today. JC Camacho in the middle of row 4 with Daytona Anderson just outside row 4 there. Daytona's obviously, a lot of these guys, you see how far back they are. It's just because of the lack of dry track time.
Yeah, lack of dry track time. As we make our way back to the field, once again, those yellow numbers with the red outline indicates the Superstock 600 class. Riders racing in that, so far being dominated by Nick McFadden, who's gotten 2 wins. Michael Gilbert, Jason Aguilar are some names you want to definitely list to. There's Caroline Olsen.
She started next to Ashton Yates and CJ LaRoche, who finished second in the last chance qualifier. Tim Wilson, Jarrett there finished good job for him getting into that last chance qualifier, as well as Steven Dietz. And then last on the grid today, Joe Giannotto. And Joe's been great. He's been on the Supersport bike also, and we've watched him actually improve. Saw him doing really well at Atlanta, and but you can see now, this is what we want to see. Nice dry track, and these guys are able to get the lean angles and the speed that they need to go. We'll look at some of the keys to the race. Now, for sure, when you look at the Kawasaki keys to the race, the lack of dry track time, for a lot of these guys, there's going to be some compromising setups and things. I really believe that the front row, being with this guy here, Valentine, I think his setup's going to be pretty much on point anyways, because they've got a bike that's very similar to what they had last year with a couple little upgrades. This guy is on a roll, there's no question. I feel like he's the man to beat right now.
Yeah.
These other Yamahas, I feel they're still coming up to speed on their new R6s, but Valentine just seems to be always being able to run up at the front. And let's not forget the 600 Superstock battle. Nick McFadden has dominated that this year. Not only did he do well at Coda and Supersport, but in Atlanta he dominated. But here, with Michael Gilbert and Anthony Mazziato just in front of him, he's got Connor Blevins to his right. There's going to be some people that might be able to give Nick a little bit more of a run for his money here. So we're going to keep a close eye on that Superstock battle also as we get ready to go, Greg.
So here we go. It's time for race 1 in Supersport. When those red lights go on, revs go up, and then it's out. And it's the mad dash to turn number 1. And it can get pretty busy down here as the front row got off to a good start. Here we go as they get on the binders for the first time. JD Beach a little sideways. Going inside, looks like he'll take over the lead for now.
Oh, what's going on there? Benny caught into Valentine there, who then ran into what looked like JD. So, and let's see if that cost Benny 5th place or 4th place. Mazziato's trying to go around the outside of him. So we got our front 4 Supersport bikes. Then we got Anthony Mazziato there in 5th. He was trying to go by Benny. Look at Brandon Posh going underneath Mazziato to get that other Supersport bike up. There's your top 5. All 5 guys on Supersport bikes, Gino.
JD Beach on the Monster Energy Yamaha YS grade Yamaha leading the way. Valentine DeVries on that M4 X-Star Suzuki now. It looks like Valentine wants to try to make a bid. Back there in that red bike, of course, that was 35. So we have the Supersport riders out front starting to sort themselves out as Benny Solis on that red Honda trying to stay in touch. So a bit of a melee coming out of turn number 1 as Solis got into a couple other riders, but everybody okay.
But here's what you got. You got the guy at the front that we said's been on a bit of a roll. He's trying to get right out in front, Greg, and set the tone at this pace early. He's trying to break this field up. He's trying really hard to get away from those 2 Yamahas, which doesn't appear to be happening. Benny Solis back there in 4th. Then you got that big gap. But we'll see if Benny can close that gap down. Last year, he was able to run with these front 3. Now, JD Beach deep in the draft here. Valentine DeBees is going to slingshot past. They come across start-finish line. Garrett's getting a double draft to go down the inside of both of them as they head to turn 1. Big trouble here. That's not good being out in that grass, Greg.
Valentine DeBees down. And that's part of that wet problem here. With all that rain, Valentine DeBees trying to hold on. And it looked like a little contact there with that brake lever. And you have those brake guards, but that was gnarly as everyone fighting for position and nowhere to go. So now it's left early on
expecting him to brake as hard as he was, but it just touched his right front handlebar, and that is horrible because when you get on that grass too, Greg, it is no man's land. Look at that poor Suzuki. Now, the worst part is the team is going to have to fix that bike before tomorrow with this one bike rule, which, some people are in favor of it, some people aren't. To me, that bike was pretty bad to me, right, the way it looks.
That bike's pretty bad.
Those guys are going to have a ton of work to get that going, but now it's left up to these two Yamahas. But what that does for the championship is that really hurts Valentine bad in the championship.
It does. Valentine DeBees was leading the way. Jason, up to this point, Valentine had won one and finished second in the other two, so he hadn't even finished off the podium below second. But, by the way, this is going to open the door for the first time in 2017 to a first-time podium finisher, meaning that only Valentine DeBees, Garrett Gerloff, and JD Beach have stood on the podium in the first three races as they continue to race each other up. So now, in a good position, sitting in third spot, is H35 rider on that CBR 600R Honda.
That's great for Benny. That's great for Benny. Him and his dad and Marco and all the guys work really hard on that Honda, and I know he wants to be closer to these guys. I know he wants to be closer to the front. He has struggled the last couple of days in the wet, and he just feels like he just doesn't have the comfort or the feel he needs in the rain. But in the dry, they've got that little CBR 600 rolling really, really well. So we'll watch these times. Right now, the two leaders were 28 flat, and you got Benny doing 28.4. That said, he's pulling away from Brandon Posh back there in fourth. Right now, Connor Blevins is leading Nick Mcfadden and Anthony Mazziato in that battle for Superstock. But this is going to come down between these two guys for this overall Supersport battle.
As we take a look, this is the battle for the lead right now. 95 JD Beach, number 1 Garrett Gerloff. Just 2 seasons ago, it was JD Beach who captured that number 1 plate. Garrett Gerloff snatched it away from him. There's a lot of talk in the paddock about what's the purpose of the Monster Energy Yamalu YES Graves Yamaha team. The purpose is to feed the Superbike program. As we take a look at Garrett Gerloff trying to draft into turn number 1. JD Beach so deep on the brakes. So the question, Jason, is as the season wears on, there's talk about Josh Hayes losing his seat at the Yamaha ride, the Superbike. It's these two riders that could quite possibly be battling for that seat.
Yeah, and if that starts to get really to become kind of the issue at hand, you're going to start to see these guys race each other harder and harder. Now, last year, JD went on such a tear at the end of the season, winning 7 in a row. We get to look at Benny Solis on that Honda. It's great to see another manufacturer involved. It's really good of Honda to step up and help this young man out of California. Like I said, him and his dad, they're privately funded. They do all this stuff on their own. They've got a couple great sponsors helping them. But to be able to run the pace of these two guys, man, these two guys are on fire. But JD Beach last year went on that 7-race winning streak. Garrett's keeping that in the back of his mind. Again, good look at Benny here.
So Benny Solis, Honda CBR 600RR, without question, when it comes to a motorcycle that's been around for as long as that one has versus these brand new Yamaha R6s, where Benny Solis struggles a little bit is on acceleration and definitely on the top end. So this is a racetrack that really showcases the ability to ride a motorcycle more than it does just outright performance of the machine. And so Benny Solis right now, 28.7 his last go around, but it was Garrett Gerloff who set the fastest lap of the race the last time we went by the stripe at a 27.554. So now Garrett Gerloff on the number 1 plate takes over the lead. Maybe Garrett thinks he's found something in watching JD's lines. As Gerloff,
big one there for JD. JD getting just bucked out of the seat just a little bit as they come out of turn 1. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on his rear tire. Not sure which tires these guys are on, Greg. Sometimes with the soft, you need the track temperature to be up a little bit in order to really make it work. So maybe get Terry to have a look at that for us if she finds anything out about if the teammates went with the exact same stuff. Little different lines there. You can see Garrett's not afraid to just kind of run over that curbing on the left. JD just chooses to go around it. But this is going to be the battle that I think it's just going to be kind of a draft and redraft battle down that front straightaway over and over. It gives you a lot of confidence when you don't get drafted down a big, long front straightaway like this, because it makes you feel like maybe you broke away. And you can see Garrett, not really much of a gap, but there's a little tiny gap there. And there's going to be places where these guys are probably going to go. They're going to be better in some places than the next guy.
now if you look at the setup of these motorcycles and talking to these riders and crew chiefs that work the Monster Energy Yamalu YES Graves Yamaha, Garrett Gerloff comes from actually a more traditional road race background, where JD Beach comes from a dirt track background. And JD and his team, they try something different in this race because he felt like the motorcycle was on the nose a lot for him. And so when he got on the brakes like he is now,
look at this.
Early on as JD, you can see he likes to slide the motorcycle around a little bit.
Yeah.
He likes to set up a little flatter than Garrett Gerloff does. Explain that.
Well, when I talked to them, it came back down to seating position for JD. JD was looking for a more familiar seating position on the bike than he had like on the old R6. So that's kind of what he went for. They're both running a little bit wide. Look at so nice being dry now. They can ride over those those curbings. But Garrett's riding the bike. The new R6 kind of looks like you sit in it a little bit more, Greg, if that's kind of what you're talking about. See the difference in lines there too as they come out of there. Garrett straightens it up, runs over that curbing. But JD was looking for something a little bit more familiar to him in the sense of what he wanted to feel when he was sitting on top of the bike. So he sits on top of it just a little bit more than Garrett. And you can see the two different lines. You know, we see this all the time with Cameron Bobier and Josh Hayes. Same bikes, same team, teammates, but they still do things a little bit differently. And that's the neat thing. And I think that's why, you know, when you're out there and you're riding and you're with your friends and you're doing things, it's okay to do things a little bit different. Both ways are going to work. You're going to be able to find different ways to make certain things work. But JD is able to slingshot down at the end, and what you saw him do at the end of the front straightaway just now is just a little bit of a test run if he thinks that if he can or if he can't, maybe slide up underneath JD. And right now he is, again, he's in the draft. He's going to try to pull out to the left side, it looks like this time. It's on the left side of Garrett. Yeah, he's just kind of test running things, looking to see if he thinks he can go underneath them. Both guys are still in the very low 27s. Benny Solis that time by 29.3. So they're gapping Benny back there by a couple of seconds.
So the class of the field right now, Garrett Gerloff, JD Beach. If you're just joining us in the opening laps of this race, championship points leader Valentine DeBees, who's had a win and 2 second place finishes on the season. There was a bit of contact either with the front lever or maybe even his front tire contacted with the rear wheel of one of these two riders up front, and he went down in turn number 1, so he exited early. It looked initially like when Valentine crashed that he was going to be okay, but we've had wet weather here. It's been raining for the last couple days, and I can tell you, being in Southern Virginia here, just on the border of North Carolina, the way that the dirt is underneath, it just turns really slippery, and that bike just kept sliding, and then caught and started flipping.
I'm just happy that he got up and he's okay.
Absolutely.
There was a bit of a soft landing in that grass. It's just a shame because these three guys all race each other very clean. And when you look at these kind of things that happen, as we get another great look at the start here, you can see Benny got a great start in the second row too. But when they got to turn 1, it looked like Benny was trying to force the matter and go underneath Valentine. You'll see it right here. They're going to make contact just there. That's going to stand Valentine up, and he almost knocks JD off the bike, and that's just enough to create those gaps right there. So just a little bit of no man's land for Benny where he just tried to slide up underneath Valentine, but wasn't able to quite make it. And you can see, look what's happened. 27-1 that last time for Garrett Gerloff. 27-8. We didn't get to see if there was a problem or something may have happened there to JD on that last lap. But we're going to keep an eye on now to see if he can close that gap down.
You know, by the way, if you're looking at the left part of your screen, you see that timing and scoring tower. The BLE stands for Connor Blevins, who's leading the super stock. Here we go. Another look at JD Beach. Oh, yeah.
Oh, got a big moment coming out of the last corner. Gosh, that's a big moment. And that's going to be third gear, just in the peak part of the RPM, and he's got his head down hunting right now to try to close that gap back down. Their first sector split is identical pretty much. Garrett was a tenth quicker, so to put that in perspective, they're a full second quicker than Benny in that first sector, but it's going to be difficult. This is, you know, both these guys like to lead races. Both these guys can get out front and run a very, very fast pace. Garrett's going to come by this lap, still see +0 on his board. He's not going to know that JD had that issue. It's getting pretty close to a full second though, so, but I'm sure his crew are going to put +0 on that board again. He's going to keep his head down, looking at the lap times this time by Greg, looking at Garrett Gerloff at a 27.2, 27.3 for JD.
A good look at the super stock battle. You can see Connor Blevins in 4th place overall. What a result for him as Brandon Posh in 5th spot. And that battle actually continues to rage on with these riders as we get back into 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. There's a good look at Benny Solis. He is, Jason, you've known Benny a long time, all right?
There's that battle. Look at this battle. It's Connor Blevins, Brandon Posh, Michael Gilbert.
Yeah.
Nick Mcfadden sitting right there, so told you Nick might have a little company, and he does, and that's good for Nick because he wants to be up there racing with these guys. But you got Brandon kind of in the middle of them on his Supersport bike. This is the guy here, Connor Blevins. We haven't got to see much of him. He just the last couple of years kind of had a little bit of the sophomore jinx. It seemed like last year, couldn't get a break, had some bike problems and so on. But this weekend things have seemed like they've come together pretty well for him. And Brandon's just continuing to learn. I mean, this kid's 16 years old, just finishes every lap, every race, comes back in and dictates to his crew what he's looking for. Michael Gilbert now trying to make the pass on Brandon as they go down there into turn 7 up the hill. So Michael Gilbert wants to start to bring the fight to Connor here for this win in Superstock right now.
Connor Blevins, number 37 on that green and black motorcycle. A good look at him. Here's back up front to number 1. It looks like Garrett Gerloff now has broken the spirit of J.D. Beach. As Beach now falling off ever so slightly. Only a couple of tenths a second, but that's what you need. A couple tenths here, a couple tenths there. And the gap now out to 1 second last time they crossed the stripe.
The thing that JD's got to keep in mind here is this track is very difficult to pass on. We're not even halfway done with this race. If he can keep this pace, right now that last lap, 27.2 for Garrett to 27.4 for JD. And this is stuff that we don't always think about when we're in the position that JD's in right now. We see that guy getting away a little bit, but if you can keep the pressure on, sooner or later Garrett's going to be coming into back markers. And this track can definitely play a pivotal role in how you get through back markers at this track. If JD can stay there, it's still not too late for him to try to do something later in the race. Right now, though, Garrett's not putting the wheel wrong.
Garrett Gerloff, your reigning champion. Right now he sits second in points. And this is going to mix things up to the exit of Valentine to Bees early on in this race. That's Gerloff sitting on 61 points. He's finished. He's had a win, a second, and a third. So he's occupied all 3 spots on the podium so far this season. As Gerloff going for his second win. J.D. Beach trying to put up a fight. We know, talking to J.D. Beach, that one of the things he likes his motorcycle to do is slide into the corner. He likes the geometry a little flatter, say, the nose heavy of Garrett Gerloff. And the team is really continuing to work on that because JD has said, I just can't feel a motorcycle, can't ride a motorcycle when the wheels are directly in line.
Yeah, well, and Garrett Gerloff just turned the quickest lap of the race, 27.1. Michael Gilbert now has broke through and is really stretched out. He's in 4th place overall. There's Brandon, Connor, Nick. You can see Mazziato right behind him. Anthony looking for a good result. He was one of our top runners last year in KTM. He's had a little bit of bad luck in Atlanta, and I was lucky enough to talk to him a little bit and said, Anthony, just go finish the race. Just go out there and ride and have a good time. And he did that in the second race in Atlanta, and right now he's showing how good he is. You see Connor Blevins now trying to go back underneath Brandon Posh as they head down into turn 1. He's going to run a little wide. Brandon's going to carve it back up underneath him a little bit, Greg.
Side by side they go. Brandon Posh on that blue and white Suzuki. So Posh, who's actually in the Supersport class in the M4, the 22 Project Racing machine. Here's another look at it. Wow, look at a little out of shape.
Yeah, Brandon. That's how they got a little separated. The lap prior, Brandon got a little out of shape. It looked like going into 1. Michael had taken the lead, and that created that little bit of a gap. That said, Michael went 29.5 on that last lap of his Superstock bike. That was his fastest lap of the race to 31.3 for Connor. So that created that big gap. But we're going to keep another look here. Is JD's keeping that gap somewhat honest. 1.3 seconds at the end of last lap. Let's see what it is this time, Greg. And this is what I mean. He's just got to just dig deep and just stay there. There you go. 27.1 that time for JD. That's almost as good as the 27.1 that Garrett had done the lap prior. JD's capable of running these lap times, and he's just got to try to stick in there as long as you can. But I love watching Garrett ride. It makes things look so simple. He doesn't have a lot of movement on the motorcycle. It's a great look at the defending champion, and you can see he's just kind of skimming along the ground. There's not a lot of overextension with his body even, Greg. He just looks like he sits pretty forward on the bike, and very simple movements when you watch Garrett ride. You can see the bike moving around underneath him, but it's not bothering him.
So continuing to lead the way is the number 1 plate of Garrett Gerloff, J.D. Beach in second, Benny Solis in third. Michael Gilbert, Connor Blevins, Brandon Posh, Nick Mcfadden, Anthony Mazziato the third, J.C. Camacho and Jody Berry. That's your top 10 currently.
Here's what I'm talking about, Greg.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's going to cost him 2 or 3 tenths. And let's see if JD can get through a little bit easier because JD's going to get held up also. So the thing is that's the kind of thing that you're really looking for when you see that leader out front. That did help JD ever so slightly, maybe. We're going to look at the times here. It can be a little bit deceiving when you just look at it on video, on the TV. But these guys are now starting to come into back markers. JD looks visibly a little bit closer to me than he was the lap previous.
As they come across the line, it was 0.3 of a second. So indeed, Jason, you're right. 1.4 last time around, now 1.1 the gap. And that was Timothy Wilson out of Pennsylvania on the Carnes Performance Kawasaki doing work. Here's a look at the 59. This is Jarrett Nassany on the Altus Motorsports GSXR 600. Jarrett right now in 22nd spot.
Ben Sleece. And you know, this is the thing, Ray. You can see his bike moving around a little bit. You can see some chatter. You know, that kind of thing there might be something he can get sorted out for Sunday morning warm-up and try to figure out a way. He's going to just keep pounding out these laps, though. And he's going to be able to come in and tell Dad and Marco, hey, here's the setup. We might have a little bit of chatter here. Maybe the bike's a little loose on the exit of turns. What can we do? Garrett Gerloff getting loose. Speaking of getting loose, Garrett Gerloff just got incredibly loose on the exit of turn 7. What a lot of people don't know, you can't see it on TV, as it kind of crowns up over the top of turn 7 there. And you can just see Garrett's bike just step out on him a little bit as he went up over the top of that hill.
More lap traffic ahead as Garrett Gerloff. There will be blue flags flying in certain corners, but you know, when you ride this racetrack, Jason, sometimes you just can't avoid it.
Somebody looked like they were off on the right part of our screen there, but look at what this is doing, Greg. This is what's happening now as far as they go by CJ LaRoche. Does Garrett coming on the front straightaway, but look at JD. JD's done exactly what I kind of felt like he needed to do, is just stay close, because anything can happen. They're running the exact same lap times right now, 27.7 to 27.2 that time for JD. That back markers really are messing with Garrett a little bit more. As the race leader, you always want to get to those back markers first, but sometimes it can work. It can be advantageous to the guy behind if you can't get through them cleanly. And at a track like VIR, it's very difficult to pass.
Plus, I also think that CJ LaRoche was punching a big hole in the air, and JD hit him right at the right time coming onto the front straightaway, where Garrett had already passed him. So maybe a little bit of that draft gave JD another 10th or 2. So now the gap is down last time by the stripe, 0.6 of a second. So it looks like they have some clean track up ahead, at least for the moment, these next few corners anyway. We can see that it looks like Garrett Gerloff's going to have his way, but Jason, sometimes motivation when that gap closes, JD Beach might get that, as we say, bit between his teeth and go after it.
But JD and Garrett both know. If Garrett sees that his board went down, he knows that he just had a little bit of back marker trouble. He's got to just put his head back down, hit his marks, do his laps, get consistent again. JD's gotten a little bit closer. Right now they have some clear track that he just needs to try to take advantage of the best he can. Come down through this last corner. Their next bit of traffic is probably about 4 or 5 seconds in front of them, Greg. And as I say that, I'm wrong, because they're actually about 3 seconds, 2 seconds in front of them. You should see some back markers come up in the shot. There's a couple of guys that are just up in front of these two that they might be coming into here pretty shortly. And I believe it's Ryan Christensen and Ashton Yates that they'll be coming up towards here very shortly. Ashton, again, another one of our KTM competitors, getting his feet wet on the 600, second race weekend for him on that 600 R6. Obviously, with his dad, he's got Ashton to me seems like the kind of kid who's a real thinker. Talking with Aaron a little bit in Atlanta, that's exactly what he says. So Ashton's just doing a good job getting that thing around. But here you go, Greg. This is what I'm talking about. You get stuck in this little section. Yep. Look who's right on the back of Garrett Gerloff now.
Now look at it. So JD, oh, and what a risk taken by Garrett Gerloff, in the lead change right there. So back markers right now playing into JD Beach's hand as Gerloff tried a very aggressive move. JD Beach takes over the lead. Wow, that was something, Jason, you called it a couple laps ago.
Well, this is just something that I've seen play out over the years, and now Garrett's got to go back to work. And this is where it becomes very disheartening. We've put in the fastest lap of the race at 26.9 did Garrett on the last lap to a 27.0 by JD Beach. You end up getting stuck behind a couple of back markers, and then all of a sudden your gap is decreased. You've worked so hard to increase that gap, but all it took was a little bit of getting stuck in the wrong place, and then this is what can happen to you. Very
that
simple.
drive by JD, you can see his foot come off the peg again. So JD Beach continues to struggle in that fast right-hand corner leading onto the front straightaway. This is where Garrett Gerloff is really shining, and with that lack of drive by JD, he's not able to even suck up into the draft. So Gerloff takes over the lead, and that all started down there in that last corner. So now Garrett Gerloff, like you said, Jason, right before lap traffic, a 26.951. This deep into the race to set the fastest lap of the race. By the way, JD did his fastest that same lap at a 27 flat. So Beach isn't giving up. It's not for a lack of speed. But right now, Garrett just has that front section really dialed in.
That's exactly right. And you can see Garrett pulling away again in this little spot here. This is the spot that they caught those back markers. Now you look up the road there. Look at that. That's Joe Giannotto. Great job by him. He started from the last row of the grid too, so he's made his way up. And he sacrificed a little bit of lap time here to let those 2 leaders through. It's a great move by him. But you can see Garrett's got a little bit of that pace as he just ran the fastest split of the first split of the track at a 40.3 for Garrett Gerloff to a 40.6, sliding that bike down through there. So Garrett knows he's got the pace as now they're coming up on Caroline. And he's going to catch her at the bottom of the hill right before they get ready to come on this front straightaway. This will be a place again where JD might be able to take a little bit of an advantage from that here. Let's just see how easy it is for Garrett to get by. Doesn't look like it's that hard for him. So it was pretty easy for him. Now JD should be able to go down on the left side also.
Caroline Olsen in 15th spot right now, holding on to the final point awarded. If she can hold on to that position, she gets lapped. So these race leaders just lapped up to 15th spot. The amount of laps left in this race, is it possible for them to catch another couple? As Garrett Gerloff just continues to pound out those laps. 27.1 to JD Beach's 27.5, but JD seems to have closed the gap a little bit. I mean, this is a seesaw battle that is just going on here, and more lap traffic coming up, which could be in just a bad spot of the racetrack.
Yeah, it looks like, again, this is going to be down in turn 7. They'll be able to do something here. This battle, Greg, I've been kind of keeping an eye out my window of watching what's going on here. JC Camacho is riding fantastic. He's moved himself into 3rd in the Superstock category, and you can see him here just ahead of Connor Blevins.
He's 91,
oh,
JC
sorry.
Camacho.
Yeah, they're catching JC's teammate. It threw me off a little bit. This is a gigantic battle for 3rd here. There's Mazziato, there's Connor Blevins, there's Nick McFadden sliding it up underneath Connor, and JC Camacho is right there with him. So this battle for 2nd place, this is the battle for 2nd in Superstock. You got 4 different guys all going after each other, and Jason Aguilar from, I believe, way back on the grid has caught up to these guys also. So he's in this battle. Then you got Shane Richardson right behind them. This is all a battle for 2nd place. And Anthony Mazziato doing a fantastic job right now, holding all these guys off and finding a rhythm and finding a groove. And way up the road, I believe we still have Michael Gilbert quite a way up the road. But
5:16 is Anthony Mazziato out of Mazziato Racing. He's out of New Jersey. Right behind him, 16 is going to be Nick McFadden on the M4 Med-Age Suzuki. He's out of Owensboro, Kentucky. And yeah, where the Haydens are from. And no doubt this whole clan, they're all familiar with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connor Blevins on the 37, JC Camacho on the 91. Just to get you familiar with some of the numbers here that you're looking at, of course, Super Stock 600 battle raging on. And by the way, that's for 4th place overall.
And this is Jarrett Nassani. Jarrett Nassani that they're catching up right now, catching up to. And JC is actually on a bike that belonged to the team that Nick McFadden rode for last year, I believe. So they've been able to share some information. They got some guys over under that canopy that have been working hard. And you see Nick McFadden sliding up into 2nd place now. This race here is going to go down to the wire. So Nick McFadden, you win your championships on your worst days, and right now Nick is doing everything he can to just try to get as many points as he can out of this race today. And he's moved himself all the way back up to 2nd. You can see Jason Aguilar there, who's climbed all the way back up, coming across for 2 to go. And it looks like Garrett has definitely broke what he needed to do here, and he's going to go underneath Daytona Anderson as they head down into turn 1 there. You can see him just go by Daytona, but now he's got a 1.5 second lead. So he knew, Greg, that those back markers played a part in his race midway through here, and that's why JD was able to stay kind of in touch with him.
Daytona Anderson on the 104 actually had a little mishap on the front straightaway. It kind of sputtered by us, so he slowed way down on his last lap. But he still goes by, circulating last time by the stripe, at least in 13th spot. So, but it's all about this guy right here, Garrett Gerloff, who was able to avoid disaster at the beginning of this race with a little bit of contact a couple times. Things were getting real chippy in the early parts of this race, and a very risky move a couple laps ago to get around some lap traffic. Lost the lead, but but able to get his composure back. Just one of the many reasons why this rider has number 1 on his motorcycle. The reigning national champion in Supersport likes to slide.
He's just doing it so consistently too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just so consistent through that little area right there. And yeah, just very, very consistent how he's sliding that bike.
Monster Energy Yamalu YS Graves Yamaha out of New Waverly, Texas. The reigning champion with so much on the line this season and possibly looking forward.
Look at that, Greg. Fastest second split of the race for Garrett as he comes to 1 to go here as they come across the line. Garrett Gerloff just ripping out these low, let's see that last lap through, 27.1. His best lap of the race at 26.8 is JD Beach. JD's going to come away from here with some second place points today for this race. You know, I'm sure you're going to see him make some changes. I'm sure when Terry does her interviews, she might be able to ask some of these guys what they are maybe thinking about changing for tomorrow, because I'm thinking JD might be able to do that, Greg.
He's got to change something, JD Beach, especially on the right side of that tire. They've got to figure out how to get some more life out of that Dunlop tire for JD Beach, because right now hitting the setup and hitting on all 4 cylinders is Garrett Gerloff. 127.122 last time around on this final lap right now. So Garrett Gerloff just in a rhythm. No need to slow down, even with a 2.8-second lead. Garrett Gerloff has got some lap traffic ahead of him, so perhaps a little cautious on this final lap. Oh, it looks like Caroline Olsen out of a points-paying position. It's Caroline Olsen now down on the racetrack. Hope she's okay. It's Caroline Olsen with that Dainese D-Air suit. You can see the airbags in the top part of the suit activated as we continue on the final lap of this race. As we come down to it now, here comes Garrett Gerloff. He'll come out of the final corner, hard on the gas, and he'll make his way towards that checkered flag for the second time in the 2017 season. It's Garrett Gerloff and the Monster Energy Yamalu YS Graves Yamaha with the win.
Awesome job for him. I mean, just a really dominating performance, really. And JD tried to hang on there. You see Andrew Lee going across, taking the checkered flag in 13th place. We're looking back there for Benny Solis, I believe, will be our next bike to come across. We'll put it on the podium also. So we're looking right now for Benny, but shows you how dominant those 2 Yamahas were today, Greg. They just glassed the field. Here comes Benny coming down the hill.
So Benny Solis and his H35, the Honda CBR 600RR. With American Honda behind this effort, he's going to reward them by standing on the podium. Here he comes. The Hollywood, California resident. Thumbs in the air for Benny Solis Jr. He'll take 3rd place.
He's going to want to close that gap down tomorrow. That's, you know, I know Benny and talking with him a lot. Being 47 seconds back, it's going to be something he's going to work on. Michael Gilbert comes across the line to win his race. He won here last year also with Superstock, but today, pretty dominant performance by Michael, and his crew chief Teague and his dad are going to be really stoked on that. So for Michael to win that Superstock class today is great. Anthony Mazziato comes through in 2nd. How about JC Camacho, 3rd in that class. Aguilar 4th, Nick McFadden. I wonder what happened to Nick. We're going to have to find out what happened. But what a battle for 2nd.
Well, I mean, tenths of a second cover those riders, but it's all about Garrett Gerloff in Supersport, who takes the win by 3.8 seconds in a dominating performance. We'll take a break here on BN Sports. Stay with us on the other side. We'll talk to him. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, where round 3 has started and the Supersport race number 1 is in the books as we see some beautiful shots of VIR. Your race winner, Garrett Gerloff, at a time of 29 minutes and 14 seconds. Then JD Beach and Benny Solis. Michael Gilbert with a win here, his first of 2017 in the Superstock 600 class and 4th overall. Anthony Mazziato and JC Camacho will join him on the Superstock 600 podium. What a battle it was all the way down to Nick McFadden in 8th place. I mean, they were covered by literally 0.016 of a second.
I would have loved to have seen that, I would have loved to have seen how that all shaped up on that last lap, because last we saw Nick McFadden going underneath him. And looking at the points now, Garrett Gerloff, 86 points. 9 ahead of his teammate JD Beach. Look what it does to Valentin. Now the good thing is he's only 21 points back, Greg.
Yep.
Still had a lot of racing to go. Benny Solis with that 3rd place gets him a little bit closer to Valentin, but that's a good result for him.
Let's go down to Terry with our race winner.
Garrett, you have a big fan club here today, obviously, but great win today. This is certainly your day, wasn't it?
I mean, everything felt good. I mean, with having no really dry practice going into the race, I think none of us really knew what to expect. But I mean, my team's done an awesome job. Did a lot of research over the years, and gosh, my bike felt good today. I mean, we were on a good tire and everything was feeling good. So a little hairy in that first corner. DeVries ran into me, and then I didn't want to be behind him or JD. So on the first corner, I just went for it, and I mean, I guess he got in a little too hot and clipped my leg. And luckily, everything was all good. But unfortunate that happened. But glad I was able to run my race and got caught up with a little bit of lappers, and JD got back up there. But man, I knew I had something for him, and just happy that the race ended up this way, and happy that all these awesome fans are out here. And just been a really good weekend, so far. And tomorrow's going to be even more nice weather-wise, and we'll see how it goes. But gotta just thank my team for everything. Yamaha Extended Service, Monster Energy Graves, Yamaha, for all the hard work that they do. All my team guys, Cortec Leathers, CD Boots, Shoei helmets, and just like I said, MotoAmerica, everybody here. And I just got to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, masterful performance. I mean, it definitely wasn't without drama in this one.
But we kind of said it. I think he felt like he did have JD kind of covered, and the back markers did play an impact, and he got him really bad in 2 or 3 different spots, but he was able to put his head back down. And Greg, after he did that, he went out and ran 26.8. So, he knew he had the measure of them. 26.8 on lap 17 of 20. So congratulations to Garrett Gerloff. Don't go anywhere at BN Sports, because Superbike is coming up. You don't want to miss the big bikes going to battle here at VIR. Stay with us. We'll be right back.